Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR546. It's NXT New Year's Evil. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Going great. Excited. Times right now in the professional wrestling world. Big time NXT show that we just had. Finally kind of culminating. To be honest, if you really think about it, New Year's Evil kind of culminates a lot of things that we've been kind of previewing for months now. You know, even besides the fact that they kind of just did the Iron Survivor and earned it. So I was excited to talk about this and just talk about the storylines leading up to this and where we could be heading going towards Stand and Deliver. So I know they always talk about the road to WrestleMania, but I know for me and you who cover this show for NXT, I'm excited to see what do they have. What are they going to do to make us excited about Stand and Deliver? So be nice to see. New Year's Eve is where we're starting, so it'd be nice to see. Talk about where we're at right now and where we could be going.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like I said, a busy start to the year. It feels like we've not really stopped since World's End and kind of gone into like this other week. But again, with NXT, like you said, it's a perfect point we're going to catch up on now because it's the start of the year. So we've got 4 NXTs and, of course, a lot more fun. So we're going to get into it. December 17th, to start the show, NXT aired the vignette highlighting various important wrestling events that have happened in Lowell. Well, at least that's something for them. Oberfemi versus Axiom. Axiom pushed Ober, but LaRuda caught his attempts at the Golden Ratio, threw him across the ring for planting him with a pop-up powerbomb. Fraser and Femi nearly came to blows afterwards. Nathan, mate, pick your fights, all right? But what is good to see is maybe, well, two of my favourites in NXT, putting on a show, and, of course, the bigger story with Ober. We know NXT title shot on the horizon, and, of course, Fraxium at this moment in time is a really good point.
Yeah, man, I think this is a perfect example of why they are just super duper valuable. Like even past the tag division, like we mentioned in the past. Not only are they the best tag team in the world, in our opinion, right now, you can pepper them into the North American or world title scenes, and I don't think anybody would bat an eye. And you can get a good to really good match out of pretty much anybody. With the if you can, like I said in the past, you can't get a good match with Axiom, or if you can't get a good match, or make or Fraser can't make you look good in NXT. I think that's a sign that you need to be in development longer and work on yourself. You know, and I think Obafemi, like you said, leading into a world title match, this is another great situation to where you kind of see, oh, he can mix well with other sides. It doesn't have to be another big guy. Doesn't have to be this or that. He can mix well even with the smaller guys too, like he kind of did with Wesley. But you also can blend in the different style that Axiom had as versus Wesley. But this is just a great little example or a little test of what we may see in the future. Now that especially with Obafemi possibly taking the leading role over NXT, putting him in more different situations and just allowing him to be, on our television screens. And I'm always looking forward to starting off a show with an Obafemi match. So I think this was a great way to kind of set a tone for us.
And also, I think the difference between maybe, looking at Triple H's booking and Shawn Michaels with NXT, especially with like Ober, after winning a big match, you could maybe sit in the background, but he's at the forefront and still, like we've seen him every week, will be in matches, whether it's this, whereas maybe on the main roster, like Gunther comes to mind maybe, we just kind of sat back after his King of the Ring, where Obafemi's like, no, let me just smash.
Exactly. Gunther gets a video package, or certain people will get maybe a backstage promo just to remind you that they exist. And then, like you say, but we don't get that other week or every other week type of thing. Hell, I think even to an extent, you're kind of seeing it with Moxley. I mean, every now and then he may work a tag or whatever, but he just comes out, he does the weird promos or whatever, or he attacks someone, and then that's about all you get of your world champion. But like you say, for somebody that's on a hot run like that, especially on the rise like Obafemi is, he got the big win. Now we know he's the number one contender. And instead of just allowing him to sit on there and do promos and just only build a story, put him in the ring and showcase why he is so special. So, again, Obafemi's booking has been pretty much close to perfect. I don't know if I have many complaints when you just think about how he has been booked. So, yeah, man. Like I said, putting him in with a ring with a guy like Axiom, I really hope. This is my only thing. I don't know about the future of Fraction if they'll stay together forever. Does not seem likely that they will stay together forever. But I just really hope that I'm pretty sure Frazier will be fine because we know Frazier got the connection with Seth Rollins and the wrestling style. Even though he's a smaller guy, I'm sure Frazier will be fine. At least more so than I may be for even Axiom. As great as we think he is, and as much as we know, A-Kid has made a gimmick that we wasn't so sure about at the beginning work like masterfully. I just hope that as time goes on, whenever the call up may be coming, Axiom gets appreciated and he doesn't get thrown. Like, for example, JD McDonough is a guy that I think me and you both know. He can work with anybody. He's great. But he kind of has, because of his size or because of how he looked, I'm not going to compare him as far as charisma goes either. I understand, but he is like in the background automatically almost, and I don't really know how high we can even Dragunov to an extent. As great as we think Dragunov is, I think me and you both, because of the way he was booked so far, or a guy like Dragon Lee, it's like we know how great they are in the ring and how good they have the potential to be, but will they get the rocket strapped to them, or will they ever get as high as they have the potential to go? And I think Axiom kind of falls in that line too, because as much as I think we all respect what he can do in the ring, and me and you love it, will that be appreciated if he ever gets to a SmackDown or Raw? Unless we're calling up Fraxium together, I think that'll be probably a smart way to kind of get them a start. But at the same time, I just don't know about Axiom. But I just hope for him, because I think he's such a great talent, that I really hope there's moments like this. I know this seems like just a throwaway, just a television match, but I'm using this as an example of how he can do anything for you, honestly, so far. And he's been proving that in NXT.
Yeah, without doubt. Speaking of Faxami as well, we've got to another update where we're still not sure if we're going to get out of this update with them together. So we'll find out. But anyway, we've got Carmen Petrovic hugging Dion Lennox after he advised her to apologise to Ashante Lee Adonis. Adonis saw the hug, told Petrovic he was texting Nikita Lyons. Lash legend Shigera Jackson versus Zarya and Sol Ruka. One small miscommunication allowed Jackson to take out Zarya outside. Lash legend got the win. Again, this was good for what it was. We talk about as we go along that maybe Zarya's lost a little bit of momentum. And again, with Lash and Jackson, maybe seeing a little bit less of them, because we might be getting Metaphor coming back. Might just get my hopes up.
It's either that or we see a lot less of them because the call up is soon, and Sean don't want to put them in anything too important. Like, yeah, it's one of those. It's either or, to be honest. Either, like you said, either we're finally going to get a reformation of Metaphor at some point, or, like I say, they impressed, because I did see that. I did read that the main roster was very impressed with Last Legend and Jakar. So I don't know. I don't know what the future really holds and why, because I agree with you. It's been a lot of stop and starts. Because if you just go off the way, especially Last Legend looked on the main roster, she should be dominating, to be honest, if you really think about it, just based on her depiction in the few matches that she kind of had. And along with Jakar. So I don't know, but we'll see in that regard. I'm with you on Zarya. I think they don't want to book her like Obafemi, like a female. Like, they don't want to go so too dominant, because they obviously got a direction of who they want to kind of lead the women's division right now, and maybe they feel like Zarya got some things that she probably should need to work on. I'm not sure what they kind of look, how they look at her yet. But I was kind of surprised that her and Sol Ruka couldn't pull this off or didn't get some type of victory. But I was happy for Lash and Jakar, because they are the actual team. Oftentimes in WWE, they do not care if you are an actual team if they like the other two people you're going against more. So I don't know what this means for Zarya, but she's still relatively new. We'll give it time, and maybe they can develop an identity for her besides the cool look and her strength. So I don't know. Maybe I'll give that a little bit more time before I judge whether or not. But I agree with you. It's way less. She doesn't feel the way she felt post debut. But I kind of, if you look at what they're trying to build with other women in the division, it actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, backstage, Wesley encouraged Igwe and DuPont to question the best way to succeed in NXT. Again, Wes, don't make me put you as better off last year, right? After some messing between OTM and No Quarter Catch Crew, Jada Parker, Blast Van Sinclair were hypnotic to win their match between the two. In the vignette, Tate and Paxi, Gigi Dolan and Shotzi played with dolls and talked about what they would do with the Fatal Influence. Fatal Influence mocked them until the Unholy Union appeared to call out the trio struggle as a unit. I mean, Unholy Union are so underrated that I actually forgot them on the WNR year-end awards. I apologise. But it's good to see them, though. I suppose they are still around.
Yeah. It's great to see him. I just don't know what this means. I know we're looking at NXT as like a third brand kind of thing. But is this something, especially when you think about how undeep the tag division is in the main roster? You know, and to be fair to NXT, they have sort of started talking about the tag belts as if it would be defended more as an NXT title too. So maybe that's where we're heading. But it's just, like I said, it's always confusing to me, especially for a team like the Unholy Union, that I feel like NXT audiences, we love and appreciate them, but I don't know if they, even as former tag champions, I still don't think they've kind of established a legitimate footing on the main roster. So it's really kind of interesting when they kind of get in this situation. It's hard to kind of place what it means, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, is this I don't want to say a demotion because it's not a demotion, but is it we need to find something for these girls to do? So let's send them to Florida and let them just work because they're not doing anything on our main roster right now? Or where is the end goal here? But I guess we'll see that as the weeks go by.
Yeah, without doubt. NXT delivered a vignette on the opponents of the NXT Women's Championship. Focus turns to height for Roxanne Perez versus Julia. NXT Tag Team Championship, Nathan Fraser and Axiom versus Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. Axiom fought through the pain to help Nathan when it mattered. He hit Wolfgang with a top rope Spanish fly, then dived on Mark and Joe Coffey outside. Fraser followed with a Phoenix Splash from Wolfgang to win. This was just nuts. And again, I don't know if it's just a story, how invested I am, or, we know how good Gallus are, but the story they're telling is just really good, and it turned into a really good tag team wrestling match,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little. I think the reason why it's so good is pretty much everything you just mentioned. I think when you can incorporate great athleticism, good technical, but good just smart wrestling, and then you incorporate great storytelling, whether it's visual storytelling, which is selling or whatever it is, or just the psychology of oh my God, Action got his ass about Obafemi earlier. So everything he looks or everything he takes feels probably looks hell of a lot worse. It's just a really well executed story overall to me. So yeah, it was best match definitely of this first initial NXT year, and just again another master class from Fraxium. And like you say, kudos to Gallus. Like you said, we kind of have always given Gallus their props as a tag team. The internets hate them. You just go on Twitter like, oh my God, Twitter hates Gallus. And it kind of made me sad because I'm like, I know I can tell it was only like a fraction of y'all from watching NXT UK to know more about them. But at the same time, I understand because of their depiction on NXT. I get it. They are usually kind of a drag, but I think this match was one of the reasons why I feel like when people are calling for jobs or thinking people may not be in NXT anymore, this is a great example of why Gallus is still there. They did a great job, and maybe it's because they blend well style wise with Axiom and Frazier, but I still was impressed with their performance here, and just like I said, just overall really good stuff everywhere, storytelling, athletically, and just fun all together.
Yeah, without doubt. Evans talked up Hank Walker and Tank Ledger's journey to the NXT Tag Team Championship. When he mentioned his own Iron Survivor loss, he set off Page, who stomped off. Alexis and Dempsey worked each other hard, both dripping with sweat after giving everything they had got. they came together at the end as they held hands and decided to have a match next week. All ego
That's
for Paige.
pretty much what happened.
Wife, I'm not lying. Go watch it. I've never seen two competitors be so friendly.
Right. Like, just in case you didn't catch that episode, I'm telling you, that's pretty accurate description of what
happened. Ethan Page and his wife, he talked about his wife and son-in-law's daughter and his failures. He said he lost his smiles. Javon Evans interrupted, say Page needs to be real safe, like he's with his family. The young EG told Page that he and the locker room were proud of all ego. This set off Page, who attacked Evans, wrapped a chair around his mouth and smashed it, causing, I say, a splurt of blood. I don't know how many blood capsules Javon Evans has done, but it looked like his liver had come out of his mouth. But, you know, I mean, we knew Page was going to do it. We were asking last update, and it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was just so well done. You know, it was a classic because, and it's funny that a lot of people can say he's like a better wrestling mid, and this is definitely a great example of the times in the past when maybe you thought the Miz would show a heart or be a human being, and then you know eventually you got swerved right back into it. It was just a very great villainous type thing to do. It was just well executed, you know, and a great way to try to make a wrestler or even someone who's been all about themselves I mean, it's in his name, he's all ego. Even a guy like that, if you talk about your family and talk about, you know, what this means to you, you know, you really do a good job of establishing or at least seemingly establishing a bond with the fans, because you know anybody can relate to that feeling that he's talking about, even if you don't have a family in that sense. So it's really well executed because again, it's just like, oh, what a scumbag, you know. And but it's just I even thought Javon, like even the way he, you know, sell it. As much as I appreciate that, I hate when the baby faces do that. You know what I'm saying? Like honestly, is in NXT for the most part. If you're just going off what we watch on a week-to-week basis, a lot of people do not really show that type of empathy. And for him to speak for the locker room and be like, you know, we're all proud of you. It's just like, I get it, but it's just such a dumb babyface thing. So when he got what he got for it, it was like, see, you should have just minded your business, let him mope, let him possibly quit, whatever he was gonna do before that. But it just made sense. I like it. It was so well executed. You know what I mean? It was really done, really well done. I love that segment altogether. It really gave me a throwback. Like, this is one of those situations. I know everybody brought up the clip of when Sean in the past dealt with that or did a blood pack type of angle too. I don't know. I don't remember the context of it, but it definitely gave me those classic old school, I don't know, ruthless aggression era, maybe those type of angle vibes, if you know what I mean. Just the way it was executed in the blood pack, as dramatic as it was, definitely made it. It gave me. It definitely made me a little nostalgic.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry, though. Trick suffered the same injury during the Ridge match and was just fine. So I'm sure, you know, Jerome will make a full recovery. Stephanie Vaquera delivered a warning to Cora Jade ahead of the match. Then the NXT Championship, Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe. Femi wished Trick good luck before he headed to the ring, hoping he would see him at New Year's Evil. I mean, what a threat that is, you know. But as for the match, Trick was battered by the offense of Eddie Thorpe and found himself out of sorts. He accidentally knocked down one referee, setting up a second official to get involved. After a trick shot, both men's shoulders were down and the referees counted a pinfall on competitor, leading to an unclear finish. Fans were unhappy. Ava rushed to the ring to sort it out. But one thing I thought is, fuck me, Trick's booking as champion has been horrific. And I mean, we're going to get onto like the bigger point. But again, what were your thoughts? Because again, this has been done, but you know, like maybe people haven't seen this before.
Yeah, it just leads me to believe that maybe, just maybe, and I hate to say this, but maybe, just maybe, after this run, I don't know how much belief, and I hate to say this because I feel like if you go off the crowd reaction and you just go off the way they present Trick, he definitely still feels like one of the faces, if not the face, or popular. But I think if you add his booking onto the focus on the women's division, and don't get me wrong, that's the right thing to do. Focus on that strong ass women's division we got. As a matter of fact, on the New Year's Evil show, when they bring in all these new viewers and people who I know don't really watch NXT on the regular, their biggest thing that they were talking about on New Year's Evil was just how it was like 3 straight women's matches or whatever, like 12 women being used, and like they never really seen that before in wrestling. And I just like, see, if that's gonna be, I love that that's our calling card for the show that we cover right now, because me and you have talked about this literally since we first got on the pod, how much appreciating women's wrestling and just how much of a big impact. I mean, honestly, if you look at NXT, especially for WWE, not to say that they started women's wrestling, because I know Impact and I know, it's been women in Japan, they've been killing it for years. I'm not trying to say that. I know WWE wants us to talk about it as if women's wrestling started with Bayley and Sasha or whatever, you know what I mean? 4 horsewomen. But NXT's history is soaked in that. They do deserve some credit for changing the way people look at WWE style wrestling and women. And I think the era that we're in now is even bigger and better than the path that those ladies laid down. So I love that. And I know I'm getting kind of long-winded about this, but I'm using that as an example to say, I don't know I think at some point they kind of lost confidence in Trick as the champion based on the booking, because you're 100% right. Like, he can't even get a strong victory. I get it. You may not want Eddie Thorpe to look weak, but at the same time, I don't get it, because it's just Eddie. I get it. You want to lift Eddie Thorpe, but there's ways to do that in defeat. There's different ways to make Eddie Thorpe look better. So I don't understand why we have to do this. And then we'll get to this once we get the resolution. I don't like that. I didn't like that either, which is what we're going to end up dealing with on New Year's Eve. But yeah, man, it's really interesting, like you mentioned, when it comes to just Trick's booking all together. When you think about the cast of opponents, that's not his fault. But even in that, it's just been that. And I hate to say it, it reminded me. The reason why at the end of the last part I was calling for a possible Trick Williams heel turn, because he has fallen victim to like becoming a blander babyface. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even talk on the microphone as much and able to embarrass people the way he kind of used to at the beginning of his run. So again, it's just I'm in every way he's taking a step back in booking. And for someone who wasn't already a wrestling clinic type of guy, when you take away all of that character, you take away the personality, and then you got to deal with not dealing with the best wrestlers as your opponent. And you, like you said, you can't even get strong victories. What can you do, Jay? Like, really, what can you do?
No, honestly, yeah. Oh, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we move on. December 24th, pre-taped, the last NXT on the WWE Network. For me, obviously, people in Germany still watching and stuff like that. Stephanie Vaquer versus Cora Jade. And Jade shined here, dominated the competition through the commercial break. Running in the corner missed, and Vaquer sparked a comeback with each defeat. She rolled to victory from there. Afterwards, Kalani Jordan attacked Jade, delivering repeated cane shots and sending the heel scurrying to close out the segment. It's funny, isn't it, Monty? Because I think we discussed maybe a couple months ago about Cora Jade. We may be worried about her coming back, but she seems to be going strength to strength and getting better with the better class of opponent she's facing.
And that's what you want to see, right? I think she's been around a while, and she worked in the indies and kind of worked a hardcore style, more extreme style. Like, I mean, she was even in death matches when she was younger. So to kind of catch up technically, it's kind of cool to see her in this match chain wrestling and kind of keeping up with Stephanie from a technical standpoint, and just again, just like you said, really impressing with her performance in this match. And like you said, carrying great heel work too. I just it's kind of a shame in my opinion, because now the way she looks here makes you wonder if she could have got, instead of being hurt for as long as she had been, if she could have got in ring time and experience, could she be on the level of a Roxanne, or at least in the ring quality. So like, yeah, you definitely saw some improvement, and I think, like you're saying, she 100% stepping her game up with Stephanie, because you kind of have to when you fight a Stephanie or a Julia, because they hit hard, They have mountains of experience. They're technical. They're strong. So you kind of have to bring your A game if you're going to be in a competitive match. But this did a great job of also staying great in storyline and in character for Cora Jade also. So yeah, man, this is just a really good television match that kicked off the show with pretty good energy. And again, it's kind of like what I just mentioned in my explanation about the depiction. This is NXT strong suit right now, and the more I think the more experience you get with Stephanie Valkyrie or with some of those people that we think are the higher tier of the division from a wrestling standpoint, I think the better a lot of these people that we wasn't so sure about, or the people that we know need to improve are going to get.
Yeah, without doubt. Well, backstage, winning Regal teased return of the Brass Knucks ahead of Alexis King's match. The family seems confident for tonight as well. But the Heritage Cup match, Alexis King versus Charlie Dempsey, and Regal did attempt to get King to utilise the brass knuckles, but his reluctance earned him a hard right hand to the face from the future Hall of Famer. In the process, those knuckles flew into the ring, garnering the attention of the referee, who thought Dempsey used them. He called for the bell, awarding King the fall, and the match and the cup via disqualification. King celebrated kiss and cup while Regal looked on, mildly amused. Noam, we need you. Please come back and save us. But, I mean, was this match just for William Regal looking slightly amused?
That's probably the fact that that's probably a major highlight of it kind of explains it to me. King did do a little mat wrestling, and like you said, the wrist lock in the first round and all of that. And, again, of course, Dempsey and the way he wrestles, the bridges and all of that we know he's just so damn good at. But, it was some decent wrestling from a technical standpoint here. I thought it was solid. Don't get me wrong. But like you say, I understand what you're saying about Noam. It goes back again to what I was saying about the retirement possibly of the Heritage Cup. I'm giving you a spoiler alert for next year's predictions. I pretty much said I think the cup won't even be. I think it'll be discontinued by next year. I don't know. That could be a bold prediction. Maybe they keep using it as like a thing, but it really doesn't feel as relevant as I feel like maybe it should. And maybe that's just from my perspective. But again, I don't think it's bad. I'm not gonna act like this was any like horrible. It wasn't. It was solid. It was right down the middle. But like you mentioned, for like the most notable thing is basically the whole William Regal inclusion. And like the brass knucks tees and the slightly amused. And what is the end goal here? Is Regal just gonna, what is, I would like to think that we're actually gonna get somewhere with this, but the way things kind of go on NXT, I don't necessarily know if there is going to be a payoff to the Dempsey Regal stuff that we've kind of seen. Is it just like twice now that Regal has kind of gotten involved in this situation with Dempsey? So yeah, I don't know what the payoff is in that regard, but again, solid match overall.
Yeah, well, we get Alba Fire and Isla Dawn versus JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. Katana Chance and Kaden Carter watched from the audience because they've got nothing else to do. We saw Shotzi, Tatum Paxi, G. Jolie appear at ringside, attempt to negate interference for Women's North American Champion Fallon Henley. Tensions mounted at ringside between them all, but we saw Dawn of Fire down in Jane for the pinfall victory. Backstage, the frustrated Jordan lashed out on Vakura and Lola Vice, demanding they not tell her what to do. She seeks retaliation against Jade. And speaking about women again, Izzy Dane rejected Sean Spears' offer because who would want to, So a lot going on there, Monty.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the tag match was fine. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I think if I had anything to say bad about it, would be probably like you mentioned, so much going on, so many bodies on the outside, got an interference finish. So, take that with what you will. But the match itself was cool, and the Unholy Union being there always appreciated. Again, I wonder what the end goal. Again, I always say this. Like I said, they retired. I don't know what they would have done with those tag belts. those NXT tag belts, to be honest, for like I don't know who could have had it in that little dull period when we didn't have so many women. But I say this all the time that if we, unless you're gonna give it to it, honestly, like I said, the women's tag team titles are great, but with all the bodies that we have on NXT, you cannot tell me the value in the NXT women's tag team title couldn't have been appreciated. So either we're going to need more blending of it, we're going to see Bianca and them or whoever on NXT more often with those belts to defend, or something needs to be done, because right now it's just a cluster, especially if we're just going to start announcing women's teams. But hey, we'll see. Maybe we might even get an actual women's tag match on the Stand and Deliver card this year. Maybe that's possibly something that could happen, even though that might be too much work. Because I don't know if we get them. I don't know if we're gonna get them belts at Mania now that I think about it. So who knows? But
I think WNR546 should just come out with the NXT tag titles and say we've held these for the last year, and just carry on.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Right? Let's just act like exactly. Let's just act like they never did the Ronda Shayna thing or whatever that was, and yeah, exactly. That's what I feel like we need to make to at least give all of these girls a purpose there right now. But hey, again, you see what I'm saying? Like, we got so many women right now in NXT to where we got seemingly a decent 4 or 5 team tag division, and then you have the North American title there, and then you have a world title. So, it's so much potential there, but I don't know if they ever decide to do it. But yeah.
Well, up next we got Dion Lennox versus Ashante Lee Adonis. Nikita Lyons appeared at ringside while Adonis controlled the pace. Lyons placed on his foot at the bottom rope, saving him from the defeat. Moments later, we scored a roll-up to score the win, immediately greeted by her. Let's move on quickly. Shot the NXT Tag Team titles at stake in the Christmas Chaos Fatal 4-Way match, featuring the teams of Bronco Nima and Lucien Price, Miles Bourne, David Heights, Hank and Tank, and Channing Lorenzo, Luca Crucifino. It was a wild, chaotic brawl of a match with plunder aplenty and some fun spots culminated with interference from Santa Claus as he laid out Tony D and revealed himself to be Ridge Holland. What? The distraction allowed Nima and Price to lay out Lorenzo to score the defining victory. I mean, again, this was fun, and you expect these on like a Christmas-themed episode.
Yeah, I think it accomplished what it was supposed to accomplish. I think that was a perfect way to kind of talk about it in that sense. Like, it was Christmas themed, so it was a lot of fun. The weapons, the different weapon choices, and the Christmas type of involvement of it was great. And then, again, I thought they actually wrestled a pretty good match, or at least, again, a very entertaining match. And I think when you're doing this and you got the theme and you're doing all of that, I think that's kind of what's important. And I'm actually, kind of glad OTM found a way to actually be relevant and win and do something, because, like we mentioned, it just seemed to be Jada Parker and those guys. Like every now and then she's with the guys. That's pretty much what they've become. So it's pretty cool to see them actually finally pick up a victory for a change in this situation. But again, this was what it was. I thought it was very entertaining, though, and it ended off it was the last match pretty much on the show, and it was around the Christmas time, so maybe I was just in the spirit, but it was great.
Well, after controversial close to last week's show, which saw, of course, Trick and Eddie Thorpe pin each other, the champ made his way to the ring to address the fans. Obafemi interrupted. Thorpe followed. Words were exchanged for Williams laid down a challenge. A triple threat match. That's it, Trick. Fucking make it even more difficult for you. Ava agreed. Femi laid out Williams. He tried a powerbomb on Thorpe, but the heel slipped out the grass and scurried to the floor, leaving Oba last man standing and making me think this is not anything to do with Trick, because Eddie was the one that kind of got away with it and Oba was the one left standing. And again, it's just blows my mind sometimes, especially the journey Trick had to this point.
I don't even know if I can put it any better than that. I mean, Eddie Thorpe is the heel here. He actually, no, you're 100%. Eddie Thorpe is the heel here, and he's at least one of the most memorable parts of this whole angle because of how he kind of manipulated his way into this situation. And then like you said, you got over Femi. You can't get much better than that. We know that he's on the rise. He's a monster. He's the number one contender. He earned this spot. So you have that to kind of take into account. And then it's Trick. And what is Trick bringing to the situation? Pretty much just a championship. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the thing he's bringing to it is that he's the guy that's gonna be the throne, but he doesn't feel like you said any more important. He's nowhere near as imposing as Obafemi, and he doesn't even seem like he's as clever, or at least like what is the way out for Trick other than us thinking. Even if like at this point, the way he's being booked, instead of Eddie Thorpe being lucky to win, we almost look at Trick like he would be lucky to win in this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when you know your world champion is just kind of floating out there not in the best space, because you don't ever want somebody who's supposed to be the face of the brand feeling like he doesn't even belong in his own feud for his title.
Yeah. Well, more good news. Level Up is no more because of the no more WWE Network. So that's another program we've seen the end of. December 27th.
I hate that, by the way. I never watched it, but I hate that because so many people got better. Like it's Tiffany Stratton, Lash Legend. A lot of these people, Sol Ruger, when they weren't on television for NXT, they were on Level Up getting better. So I just I hate that, but maybe we'll get some type of replacement.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting as well because I think the first thing I ever watched on the network was probably NXT Arrival when it happened. You know what I mean? Or an NXT event. And I made sure. Well, actually, I forgot. To be fair, like New Year went, I went, oh fuck, no more network. But December 27th was the last episode, and the last thing I watched on the WWE Network. Wendy Chu, Carly Armstrong, and Lani Reed lost to Kendall Gray, Lara Diggs, and Carly Bright. Your guess is as good as mine. Dante Chen Gauntlet. I was glad Dante Chen's not been released. Should be watching Level Up, really. Means Carver, Harlem Lewis, and Kale Dixon. We'll see what happens. And then December 31st, this was on YouTube in the UK and also on Netflix pretty soon afterwards. I don't know what Booker was on, but I will have some. You know, his energy is just unbelievable. I wish I could bottle it and just drink a little bit of Booker every day. We'll move on because that sounded weird. Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice. Jordan finally got rolling in a physical battle with Lola, but Jade got involved. Distraction backfired, allowing Jordan to roll up Vice with a bridge to win. Afterwards, Jade attacked Jordan until Stephanie made the save. Vice accidentally caught Vakra with a spinning back fist. Monty, there's just too much going on. There's too many women, and there's too many that I know now. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't need men. Again, Obafemi's great. Once he's moved up to the main roster, let's just cut it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got so much. Even Lola Vice and Jade.
If they wanted to turn, no, you're 100% right. If you wanted to turn NXT into a women's brand, why not at this point? Like, besides Fraxium, besides, like you mentioned, Obafemi, maybe if you care about Charlie Dempsey and a couple others, but other than that, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? Other than that, like, why? I don't. At this point, who matters? But yeah, this is 100% great. 100%, you're 100% right. There's a lot going on, and look at what we have here. I mentioned the tag team kind of women's feud we had going on. This is a guy. This and Stephanie Valkyrie and Cora Jade. That's a mid-card North American titles, seemingly title feud. Like, come on, man. Like, the women's division is the focus. I don't care what anybody says. Maybe that's why Trick seems to be forgotten. You know what I mean? Because
Trick's like, fuck
he's not
me.
a woman.
He's like, I hate women. We're going to hear him say that. He's going to be cut,
right.
edited. But it really is. And again, even after with Julia, and she did one of my favourite things that you can do, is talking up her opponent, as well as the legacy of the other women that have held the NXT Women's Championship. And as you said earlier, Monty, like, again, like it or not, with NXT, the history it's got, like I said, with Oscar and everything else leading through the line, it is the title to kind of win at this moment, you know. And I don't know if I've just been brainwashed by Vic Joseph telling me it's the best women's division for the last 6 months, but I truly believe the NXT Women's title is the pinnacle.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that lineage, man, just all the way from Saraya back in the day to where we are now, because again, like when you really think about it, I'm just trying to even deduce in my mind, your weakest link is probably Mandy and Saraya.
Yeah.
And what Saraya was at the time was groundbreaking, and then what Mandy kind of became to even become championship worthy was the best run of her life. So even then, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
like it's like still top notch quality, and you just think about what we've gotten from everybody pretty much who's ever held that belt. So yeah, man, it's a great lineage, and again, now you even have the focus. Now you like even when Oscar and some of those others were on top of the division, they weren't really the only. You still had a great men's division. You still had all this. Now being the women's champion is basically the world champion of NXT. At least
Yeah.
that, like, if you ask me, Roxanne, and that's why I had to make sure she was my woman of the year, and the reason why I was so happy to see her getting alongside Tony Storm so much love and adulation for her run with as women's champion and being basically the best champion in WWE outside of Cody, pretty much. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
right now, that's the world championship of NXT. At least if you're just going off the way things feel.
Yeah, without doubt. I'm going to speak about Roxanne Perez, obviously, in a little bit. But it's weird how some things feel like they don't change and some things feel like a long time ago. Obafemi versus Josh Briggs versus Dijak was named Match of the Year. And you go, was that this year? That was not. But yes, it was. And believe it or
Yes,
not,
it
they
will.
got Briggs talking about it. Because he hasn't got a lot else to do, I suppose. Afterwards, we saw Jade watching Vancouver Jordan and Vice argue. Ava told us she would face all four next week in a North American title opportunity. And again, it's even with NXT, it's maximizing these little things. And again, I really, really, as you can tell, I'm really enjoying the product at the moment. And in his interview, we saw Cedric Alexander saying that Evans' jaw was wild shut, but the young OG still planned to get his revenge on All Ego at New Year's Evil. We then see Ethan Page versus Cedric Alexander. Page went after the mouth of Cedric throughout the match. He knocked Alexander's mouth guard out with a boot, then hit a cut to take the win. Afterwards, he smashed the left hand of Alexander in a toolbox, possibly breaking his finger. And Monty, I've mentioned Ethan Page to you, and again, we mentioned Kurt Angle, and to get that killer side is so important for a heel as well, and that's what Ethan is doing
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think if you really, and I hate to keep going back to the Miz, but that comparison that he gets to the Miz, that's one of the things that kind of differentiates him, in my opinion, or at least they're starting to differentiate him from that. Because as great as the Miz has always been as like a cowardly or at least a very egotistical heel, I don't quite remember him ever being too brutal. Like he's maybe had maybe a couple heel turns here and there back in the day. He may have had some brutal moments, but compared to like you mentioned, even Kurt Angle and some Edge and some of these other heels who had great runs where they were, threatening. And like you mentioned, yes, you can have the ego, you can bring it in the ring, you can cheat, but once you get, like you said, that element of whoa, he's hurting people, or whoa, he's dangerous. That gives you a completely different layer to your character, and it gives you. And if you look at what it's doing for Ethan Page, it feels like it's giving him new life. Like if he was to reclaim the world championship again, or maybe it's like it feels like it's a slow rebuild for him to possibly challenge Oba one day. Because I feel like if you give him not that we would even look at him as a threat right now, but if he's around here legitimately hurting people, we may not think he can hurt Owen, but hey, he's smart. He may be able to use certain tactics that we're not thinking about or whatever. So just again, somebody who may have thought that you may have thought that he wasn't a fresh championship contender type heel, in my opinion, now has a new coat of paint.
Yeah. And again, the way Page has been booked, whether it's an agreement or something like that, has been excellent at this moment in time. Joe Hendry in NXT won NXT Moment of the Year. He thanked the fans, reminded when he could reappear at any time. We then saw Katana Chance and Caden Carter in action as well. And of course, my script has just gone a completely different way. So I'm just going to talk until I find it, How are you, Monty? You right today? Is it fine? No, we'll get there. Hang on a minute. Give me a second. Well, it never happened before.
I am fine.
Yeah, you are fine, yeah?
Fine. Yeah.
It's just gone back in episodes, so, it's fine, don't worry. I said it, Alexander. And there we go, we're back. See, anything can happen. I'm just glad I'm professional. There you go. Meta Girl, Shotzi GG, and Carter. We saw Fatal Influence distracting the referee, allowing Jane to knock down Gigi Dolan and set up Lesh and Jackson to connect with Rulebound Carter for the victory. But the main concern was Shotzi nearly breaking her neck on a dive. But Monty, she's always been like that, hasn't she?
She is the woman's Darby Allin. Or at least close enough. Even though at this point, she may have been almost trying to kill herself in the ring longer than Darby for us. But I don't know, man. Yeah, it's guaranteed. We used to say it all the time. Whenever we watching a shot. You would think after a very serious injury.
Yeah, first match.
Her style would change.
Maybe not, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not.
Also, subtitles. Watch this on Netflix. The subtitles are actually up to date with the action. But, of course, the person doing it is not really sure 100%. So the crucifix was called Bruce Fix, which I just thought, yeah, sure it was. I'm sure there's others as well. Alba Fire interrupted the celebration of the Meta Girls and challenged them to match in the new year. Fraxin won NXT Tag Team of the Year. OTM interrupted them and said they're going to do it in 2025. Yeah, right. If OTM Monty win NXT Tag Team of the Year, I will, I don't know, get my hair braided. I don't know. So Aruka versus Izzy Dame. Aruka
I say Onofre and Blade.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Zarya essentially needs to go fight on her own, leaving her in the back for this. But she came out anyway. And when they come out, nothing's going to happen. Izzy Dame threw Zarya to a diving moonsault. She allowed Dame to hit the eye drive for the victory. Sean Spears watched from the stage, pleased with the result. Fuck's sake, man.
Hey.
Ava asked Lexis King to give back the Heritage Cup, and it could not be won by disqualification. She announced the two in a sudden death for the Heritage Cup. So a match. That's what it was. William Regal promised to stay out of it, and Monty, you deserved another 2 points on your year end because technically I think Dempsey was still champion, but you're not looking back.
Yeah, it don't matter, but cool.
Roxanne Perez won NXT Female Superstar of the Year. Unfortunately, warned Julia about what was coming to her at New Year's Evil. Hank and Tank convinced the downtrodden Andre Chase to team with them versus Wesley, Tyson DuPont, and Tyree Igwe. Chase walked out as he realised Chase U was still gone, leaving Hank to take a stunner from Igwe for the loss. Cale Dixon asked Chase about the next semester. The professor said the U was dead. Happy New Year, everyone. Andre Chase, I mean, at least he's still getting work. Who knows about the rest of them? They did nothing wrong, and yet we've not seen them, and yet Andre Chase is back on NXT.
He's a ratings ratings magnet. That's what it is. Because you're the guy who gambled everything away is still there. But yeah, whatever. I don't know. Next time we see, I'm about to call her Fallon.
Fia Hale.
What's the man? There's so many women.
I know.
All right, next time we see Thea Hale, like, what's her gimmick? She gonna like Ashanti the Adonis or something?
Well, speaking of Ashanti the Adonis, he told the Goat Lions he would spend New Year's alone if he could not find Carmen Petrovic. Backstage, Tony D and the family told Sean Spears to back off Izzy Dame because I think it was Rizzo.
Wow.
I really like Rizzo because she's like, hey, fucking leave it, man. Either that or what you showed me with her with a gun. Saints clicked with me with her recently, you know? And I
Yeah,
don't know
she's
what it
great.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Even though the family strong suit is still vignettes and skits, they don't seem to wrestle. I agree. At least if they're gonna go for, if you want to say committed to the character, she is into it. You know, the accent and everything. So like, yeah, I agree. The execution is there.
Right, now, Obafemi interrupted the NXT Male Superstar of the Year presentation, saying it did not matter who won the award. And again, Monty, Oba, when he says, I am the captain now, I'm not going to do his voice because, again, that would be incredibly racist. But, I mean, captain my captain. What a fucking promo. You know, and again, Trick was like the coolest man. And then Oba comes out and does that. And I'm like, fuck Trick Williams. Trick Williams arrived to call out Femi's bad behaviour and losing to Tony D. Eddie Thorpe laid out both men for breaking the Male Superstar of the Year on the ruler and standing tall with the NXT Championship. But again, that promo by Oba and Eddie Thorpe being the man left standing. Who's the forgotten man?
Hey, we beating the drum right here. We beating the drum because it's 100% true. It's 100 again, forgotten, overlooked. You know what I mean? Didn't even again, like you mentioned, used to be his strong suit. These promos and being able to embarrass this person on the mic. Didn't even matter what he said after what Oba said, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like the presence and the intimidate. You believe pretty much everything that Oba has to say. So I'm really interested, and I'm a guy who last year was saying, "Hey, call Trick up. He's ready." You know, or not even that he's ready in the ring, just that the crowd would like it, and I feel like he wouldn't. You know, I don't think he would sink. I think he would figure it out.
Yeah.
But now, after just seeing what he's been given, I don't know if I can say that. But I would love to see it. I'm still champion, and I'm still gonna say this. You know what? I say this for after the title match. I say this for after the title.
No, because I
but,
completely agree. And again,
but
yeah, and what they can do with that would work well on the main roster as well. Anyway, we're going to park NXT for just a second because we've got New Year's Evil. But obviously, we had a lot going on. Of course, we had Wrestle Kingdom and Dynasty, which we're going to review next weekend. But Noah, we're going to speak about. No, not from the Bible, but of course, Japanese wrestling promotion. And Omos, who is a WWE contract wrestler, won Tag Gold. And not only that, but Shinsuke Nakamura beat Oka Sasaki. Naka's entrance was special. And Kenta will work Noah this year, I think, to celebrate 25 years. But again, isn't it incredible what Japan can do, Monty, where they made Omos look like a credible threat in just one match?
Man, I've been saying this for the longest, and especially since the partnership has kind of happened here. Like, to be honest, I feel like every big guy, if he's a big guy, you know, even Jonah size or whatever, whoever you want to see, you know, back when they was dealing with the Veers of the world and all of that. I'm a big proponent, man, that if you have a big guy in WWE now, send them to Japan before they even debut, if you can. If you can get off with sending them over to Japan and work kind of like what they're doing, you know, they tried to do it with Briggs, but I'm saying, like, I'm really talking about the extremely large guy. Like, I use Veers as an example, but really, people like Omos is a perfect example. Like, he's an anomaly, and they are going to, you gotta, like we mentioned this in Japan. Like you saw with Bronson Reed, you've seen it. If even with Bad Luck Fale, whenever they decide to use him, Bad Luck Fale is like 6 inches shorter than Omos or whatever, almost probably a whole foot shorter than Omos, to be honest. So, like you said, the depiction of him and just the way the fans react to him and how he looks and how they're wrestling and bumping for him, it's just, that's the way it's done. And I know Triple H, in my opinion, has probably been trying to figure out what can he possibly do. How can he use a guy like Omos? And I think 100% the way that you use Omos is the way that they book their giants over there. I don't know. I don't think you could do it any better than that, to be honest, in my opinion, because again, he just feels like a completely different guy if you watch those clips or watch a match or two of what he's been doing over there. He like you said, he pinned a legend on pretty much his first match, and nobody bats an eye at it because the way that they depicted the film, just he's special, and that's what you got to do for a guy that's 7'3" pretty much or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he's special. He has to be booked special, and I think that if you're gonna, whenever he comes back to Japan, and I think whenever he comes back from Japan, he's gonna get it even more too. Like, not only how to work as a big man, but how fans should interact with him. If he's a bad guy, they should fear him. If he's a good guy, like back in the Andre the Giant, they should revere him. They should marvel at him. If he's a babyface. So it's just, I hope that this means, because I like Omos the person. So I hope that this means that whenever he does come back, that the WWE figures out that this may be a way for us to get him over in a similar fashion over here. But I feel like any of the new guys that they bring in as a big guy, if you're 6'5" or 6'6" and higher, send them to Japan, man. If they don't know much about the inner workings of wrestling yet, and they'll come back ready for television. Yeah, but also Shinsuke in Japan is just a completely different guy. He's also another guy that's he's a legend over there, so he's looked at differently. This wasn't like his match with Muta, and so it wasn't like a classic type deal. But I really do think it was another great showcase for Shinsuke Nakamura. Like you say, just the way he looked and trying to get that new character over. I think if you just look at that entrance, like you said, the presence and the way he felt like a big deal, and he always does when he's back home.
Is there? I mean, I know we're going to talk maybe more next week, and of course New Japan and about Tanahashi and stuff like this as well. And there's no chances that Nakamura to be involved in any of that because of, obviously, I guess, the AEW agreement with New Japan. That he wouldn't.
Which sucks,
is a
by
shame,
the way.
really, but
yeah. I don't think with because I just think it'll be the politics of it. I'm sure New Japan would like to, but I just, like you said, as long as they partner with AEW, I don't know if AEW would appreciate it, or even if WWE would want to do it because of that. And that just kind of sucks, because I do believe that if there's anybody Tanahashi needs to be in the ring, kind of like with the Shibata involvement. They did those are the Three Musketeers: Nakamura, Shibata, and Tanahashi. So
maybe AEW
we
can have like a year off and let WWE kind of have like a crossover show, so we can get AJ and Finn and Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom, and then they can come back like the following year. I mean, in a perfect world.
In a perfect world, in a perfect world, man. But in a perfect world, we would get it all. We'd be able to enjoy everything at the same. We can get Gunther and ZSJ or something,
Oh, don't do it to me. Anyway, let's move on. And I don't know if you know, Monty, but apparently it was the first Raw on Netflix. I mean, they might have promoted it. I don't know. Yeah. I did catch it.
I heard through the grapevine.
I'll run through the notes, all right, and then we can talk about it. Triple H and a fantastic video started the show. It was the biggest arena show ever. Well, that happens when you charge them like £8 million just to sit there.
And they cheered for that, by the way.
I know, they were like,
idiots in LA cheered, like, "Yay, we got overcharged."
And then Face Rock, who loves Reigns and Cody. I mean, did he forget Bad Blood as well as shaving? That's all I'm going to ask. Like, it was just, what?
Yeah, he really sliced it. Yeah, the whole neck slice was absolutely for nothing. Just nothing. I wasn't. I saw a lot of people on the internet complaining. I think we'll talk about it in the NXT show. He saw it too. But The Rock, I must say, I felt like this is just confirmation that, not this year, guys. Like, he's putting it off for another year. That's just what it felt like. It's just like, let me come in and let me go. Remember last year around in January, he had the big promo. He had the promo that basically teased he was coming back by saying the whole, should I sit at the head of the table? Like, that was his tester. This year, he came straight out and basically made sure that you don't worry about any open storylines from him right now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what it feels like to me. He's closing that door on Mania for this year, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not saying that it won't happen. Maybe Rock and Roman definitely can happen, but the stuff with Cody that I think we was all theorizing about and all of that, that seems to be less and less likely unless things change. Or and you never know what can happen,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It just that one feel like that is definitely done, especially with the backstage stuff with Cody too. Roman I think can still happen, but Cody, that one is probably never going to happen the way it kind of felt like after the night after Mania.
Well, I think that's funny because, again, like Rock's talked about, taking us on a ride. But, again, he must have some say. And go, do I give Cody the WrestleMania match with me or do I fuck him, come back as this, and then just do Roman next year? And, again, it wouldn't... I'm not saying wrestlers are looking after their own egos. I mean, lo and behold, would that ever be a thing in wrestling? But yeah, it's really
no, come on now. We're talking about wrestlers. They're top notch characters.
Fox doing it for his home, for his family.
Right.
Exactly.
New
referee outfits as well. I mean, I didn't mind them.
I would wear those out in public. Like, what kind of ref shirt? Like, what is those? Those are nice, man. I would wear those myself.
I didn't know if a kid won a competition. That's what normally happens. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to see a unicorn on the front of it or something like that. But no, they weren't bad. We got Reigns versus Solo. This was madness. This was like, let's just throw everything. Owens attacked, which I popped for, to be fair, because I was like, good old Owens. You're taking a leaf out the McIntyre book. New and old Bloodline showed up. Roman won. And then we had Rock just giving Moo the Fowler and that. And I was just like, fuck this shit. But again, Solo showing... because we knew the result, but Solo showing there is life in the old dog yet after this. There is a future.
Yeah. I mean, this was. I really thought this felt like this gave me Cody and Roman vibes. In a sense of just like, and maybe that's what Tribal Comeback just has to do. It just has to be an overbooked mess of just run-ins and kick-outs at twos and all of that. So it was a good fun though, and the crowd was definitely hot for it. Even at the few times I was hoping maybe that The Rock would come out and help, but at some point I was just like, yeah, well, no, with no help, the numbers are not lining up. We're not going to get a Drew here because he wrestled in later. So, yeah, man, I was like, Solo, yep, you did a good job, but you're not Roman. But it was good, man. I wouldn't get mad. I wasn't too mad at the match, and I'm proud of Solo for being in that position. But, it's just one of those things to where now you beg the question. I'm glad he finally put the necklace on. We can finish that chapter. But what's next? Is Solo, like, what can even Solo do? Now going forward with the new bloodline, I think that's kind of the questions now. Like, do you just pop up and now you're trying to enforce for Roman again? No questions asked. And you try to get Jacob them to do it too. Like, is that the next angle? Like, what happens? Because even while he was had the Ula Fala, he mentioned to Fatu and Tama and Tonga, he told them that if Roman gets the Ula Fala back, we would have to acknowledge him. But yeah, I mean, I think we're now the focus seemingly goes to Jacob, and I think that's exciting. So we'll see what's next in this long, long story that they seem to be telling for the bloodline. It's gonna go on forever. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
This is what my hope. I say my hope, like I said, the bloodline story. But again, if you can get Jacob to take out Solo and even do that, I love you, Solo, as he's doing it. It's going to be fucking brilliant. Solo goes back to Roman. You actually got like the original bloodline. Then you can start saying new until The Rock comes in and fucks it up. But anyway, who knows? John Cena next. Long and short of it, he's entering the Royal Rumble. A lot of superstars in the crowd and Logan Paul. Liv versus Rhea Ripley. Ripley won and took it. I mean, Rhea, I was thinking Becky Lynch was going to show out. But she ticked a lot of boxes. It's win the women's title by beating the woman that took you out, tick. Kick the guy in the bollocks that betrayed you at SummerSlam, tick. And then The Undertaker showed up. And I thought he completely blanked her to begin with. I'm not going to lie. I
Yeah,
was like,
first.
that's harsh. But luckily, he turned round and did the Brothers of Destruction bit. And I suppose it was a great moment for Rhea, you know. And again, we knew she would be champion sooner rather than later.
Yeah, man. I just think anybody who thought that anybody else was the number one woman to Triple H, this segment is a perfect example of how you were wrong because Rhea's heads and shoulders, in my opinion, if you're just going off presence and just the way that she's booked in this situation, how strong she was booked. Yeah, I mean, she's her. She's the one. As much as I would like other women to be pushed to that level, we've gotten to a point to where it would be believable if Bianca would be fighting against Rhea Ripley, but she's kind of past her in a lot of ways, presentation wise. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm interested to see what's next. Do we go back to? I don't. EO kind of lost the live clean, so you don't really. I don't know if you go back to EO as a title contender, but it is interesting to see. Like, is it going to be whoever wins the Women's Royal Rumble? Like you mentioned Becky on a return, which is most likely going to happen at some point before Mania. Is that where we go? Again, I'm really interested to see what's next in that entire picture because it's kind of been a Rhea and Liv show for a while now. So now that Liv's got to kind of take a back seat. And also, what about this Judgment Day? They lost it. The Bloodline's a babyface. Triple H now, in my opinion, is going to have to work to establish a new, I've mentioned this in the past with the common goals of Drew and Seth, or the common goals of Drew, Seth, and Kevin. But even like from a standpoint, because the Bloodline are kind of like a face faction and conglomerate, who is going to be now who the heels storylines are being pushed through? Because if you look at where the Judgment Day stands, they're not as interesting. We have other teams, but I just don't know if anybody can take that main heel role like Judgment Day and Bloodline had the last few years. So be interesting to see what happens, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. And as for Ray as well, what's really cool, as we've spoken about earlier on the show as well, is, people go, oh, what's next for Rhea? Who can actually challenge her? At least with NXT, we've got a couple of aces, and we're thinking, well, shit, when Judy is ready to go up, then that is going to be a fucking match, And of course, the return of Oscar at some point will be good for, I think, everybody. And speaking of heels as well, as you mentioned, Kofi shaving his moustache off is just a great heel move. I applauded it. I mean, I just love it. People forget that you have to look like a fucking idiot sometimes, or look just horrible. Like Eddie Guerrero was perfect for that, wasn't
he? Yeah. You got to be able to look like the asshole that you're acting like, and I think that's exactly what's depicted there. And that you want to give people something else to talk about you with. I think honestly, I feel like everybody loved those outfits now that Seth wore, but I think at the beginning of his Messiah visionary type deal he had, a lot of those weird outfits were to kind of make him stand out and look like an idiot. So I think it's grown on people. But yeah, man, even with the fur type coat Kofi was wearing, he just, like you said, he just looks like somebody you should hate.
Oh, unbelievable. My favourite moment of Raw on Netflix was Travis Scott smoking a blunt and hoping Jey Uso was going to take a smoke. That's one point I was like, that would never have ever happened in the old days where Vince was about smoking or anything else like that. I mean, to be fair, Monty, my thing's on the pulse. Great. I mean, I Googled him anyway, so I know who Travis Scott is, don't get me wrong. But we got Drew versus Jey. But I don't know, but if Triple H, he really needs to trim in between matches. I know this was special, but even with PLEs or SmackDowns in general, like there were 10 minutes, 15 minutes of just. No, I've noticed in NXT sometimes as well. When they just stand in the ring for like 10 minutes, it's just shorten it a little bit. I know it's a 3-hour show, but come on, fit more in.
Yeah, not to mention. You have to see me while that's going on. Some of the times when you see them doing, when you see them relaxing, I'm getting added to them. I'm getting just advertisement after advertisement. Like Raw was, oh my God, Raw was just insufferable with the advertisements. And I know I could just pay like the extra $10 on Netflix to get the no ads, and eventually maybe I will. But like you mentioned, Jay, even with the no ads, I'm just gonna get them.
Yeah.
Sitting there biding their time or whatever. So it's not like I'm gonna get anything more interesting going on. So it's just it's like you mentioned, it's just one of those things that I don't know what to do, especially when you got 3 hours of television. I get it. It's easy to be like, well, we gotta, pad time. But yeah, you're 100% right. It's just tough. It's just tough, and I think it made the show drag. And it was already a very high energy, lengthy night. So I think kind of Jay and Drew kind of got. I don't want to say stifled, but you can kind of see how that kind of messed with the energy of the match. Just for it to kind of come to a conclusion that does not end it. Like, it's not even a satisfying conclusion. You know this is going to continue. You know Drew is not going to stop.
Yeah.
And you know that he's probably going to have to get his victory. He's probably going to get his victory back. This is going to continue. So you have all that time. It was good for Jay to get it. I get it. I don't have a problem with it. I think at this point, everybody that the crowd wanted to win won. So I don't know if they were just trying to. I don't know if they were just trying to give everybody what their money's worth. Some new fans can get people to root for by watching this show and watching them overcome it. Definitely saw a lot of new fans lusting after Roman and Jay, so I know that worked for them. I saw people lusting after Drew. So, I think even with Rhea and Leah, the more I think about it, everybody in this match, everybody had a match on Raw was kind of getting threw out there for eye candy, if you really want to be honest. But yeah, this is great though, like you mentioned. But yeah, the pacing of this, man, that's what we hopefully going forward. That's something that Raw on Netflix can fix because it was kind of tough at times.
Yeah, I mean, this is again, this WWE being very WWE going, look, all the celebrities and all this stuff. I mean, in their mind, they go, well, not, I say normal people, but you know what I mean? By that, maybe non-regular viewers might not like wrestling after wrestling and like a little bit in between, I want to see Michael Cole as well give himself a hernia or go for the announce table. I'm hoping with that's going to happen with Pat. They have reinforced the announce tables. Like you said, Jay won, and then we lost. But aren't you glad Terry got booed, eh? Who did he fucking think he is? And can I say, before anybody else, Monty, I don't know your thoughts, you might feel sorry for him, but Eric Bischoff as well, go fuck yourself. I mean, I'm a fan of Eric, but to say because it's like liberal fans and all this lot, Undertaker supported Trump and didn't get booed out the building. Explain
exactly.
That, all right? Like,
exactly.
Come on.
Exactly. And then let's just be honest. If it was about that, would we even go to like a WWE? Like, come on, this is owned by TKO. Trump is literally at every UFC event. Like, come on, bro. Like, don't try to. Everybody who tried to make it about politics was just trying to avoid the obvious truth, or they were just trying to skirt by the reason that they know why people don't want to see Hogan. It's multiple reasons. It's not just as simple as he's a racist piece of shit who set the wrestling business back in a lot of ways to advance his own celebrity and status. That's a great obvious reason, but that's just one of the few. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's plenty of reasons to not like it. What about the simple fact that at this stage of a long ass show, nobody wanted to see him anyway? We don't care about your beer. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to sell beer. It was an easier way to do that other than coming out here, getting your little interest pop and thinking that we don't care. No, at this point, WWE has to ask themselves a serious question about how many people actually care. We're getting towards a point now to where it's certain fans, if you're like 8 or 9 years old, you only know Hogan for being racist.
But it was his thing, and again, and it's not saying that it maybe his action figures might sell, but that's because that's an action figure of the person where they're thinking he was back in the 80s. It's not him now. It's him and Flair. And again, it's like, these two days. But have two wrestlers taken more out of wrestling, especially when it comes to Terry? Will it be celebrity wrestling or fucking, you know what I mean, reality shows or, anything else that is to try and make money out of it or when he was there at the time? What did he give back? Look at his comments about WCW. Look at, the steroid trial and everything that happened there. It's all just fuck off, mate. And I'm saying,
right, exactly. Like, it's a laundry list of reasons that have nothing to do with political ideation. Because again, if you really thought that, people wouldn't people wouldn't support this type of stuff at all. Because like, you don't know what wrestler picked what. Liv Morgan owns a Cybertruck. Elon Musk is an idiot who created those ugly things. I could hate Liv Morgan, or I could deduce that she might be. I don't care about none of this, because that's not the point. The point is like you mentioned, Hogan has take. He's only given but so much, and all these people who grew up eating their vitamins and all of that, and who can't get past the fact that it's more to it than who he was when you were 5 years old or whatever, however old you were. I don't understand it. I don't understand the whole mopey and feeling sad. Like, at the end of the day, we all know why. And then that's another thing too. It was obvious. It was the segment. We knew it wasn't a purpose for anything. We knew you weren't bigging up any new wrestler. We knew you weren't. It wasn't like a promo to advance something important for someone else. We knew it was all about you getting some a pop and glory, little TV time, and telling everybody about your stupid beer.
Well, I'm glad it didn't affect us too much. CM Punk and Seth Rollins.
Stone Cold deserves a beer deal.
Do you know what I mean? How fucking stupid. How bad is Triple H or his relationship with Stone Cold that he can get everybody back apart from Austin?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what's happening there? What is
and
it?
Austin lives in Vegas.
Yeah,
Austin lives in Vegas, man.
They're saying that, I don't know. Maybe Austin's still pissed off about Nowhere 2001. Who knows?
Right.
CM Punk and Rollins did tear it up as well. And again, I think with Punk now, like we talked about, I'm past that point of, okay, fair play. And Seth, we talk about the company man. I will say as well, my predictions were completely dog shit. But again, the main event delivered, which was important.
Yeah, man, it really picked it up the show, man, because other than being happy that Hogan got booed, and like I said, the Drew and Jay match was fine, but like I said, the night kind of dragged. It was so many advertisements, but like just watching that match and getting excited, the way they kind of just worked their tails off, and then the ending was excellently done. And then to know he did that same kind of finish to Moxley, it's kind of great, because now eventually, whenever he ever lines up against Roman, I can't wait to see him do the trifecta. I don't know if he'll beat Roman, but to see him at least do the same double GCS spot would be, or at least attempt it, would be excellent. And I don't know. I like this match a lot. I think it was a lot of real aggression there too that helped put it over the top, which is kind of, I think at this point, CM Punk kind of antagonizes the people he hates. He goes out there and he for some reason gets the best out of it. I know he kind of attests to just saying that's just what he does, but we cannot underline how much maybe a little bit of that real life hate makes them want to go out there and not only rough them up a little bit, but just show that you say you the best in the world. Well, hang with me, old man. They want him to do that. And so far, besides looking winded maybe a couple of times, I think he's getting that under control now. He's great, and I think he's been doing great. And the only thing I ever worry about when I watch these Punk matches is that I hope he holds up. And so far, so good. Punk is held up, and I just hope he makes it to Mania. I don't know if he's going to be a main eventer in Mania. He's going to finally get his moment. I don't know about that. But what I do want, I just want him to at least be able to be healthy and be there for Mania this time.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if you said it on the Raw before, after, or maybe in a press conference, whatever it is, but when Punk was saying, like, look, I was Drew McIntyre. You went, where's this Drew McIntyre been? And this Seth Rollins, where's this Seth Rollins? He's like, I bring out the best in people, and it's hard to argue. Like you said, that annoyance or whatever it is that Punk does, it does seem to bring out the very best. They did have a post show, an hour 45 fucking post show,
which is crazy.
I was like, what's going on?
On a Monday, you thought I was going to stay up and watch all of that?
Oh, Jesus. No, like I said, it was 4 o'clock in the morning at that point. And I was like, fuck this, I'll try in the morning. Joe, Wade and Biggie talk about company men in an empty arena, bless them, for a couple of hours after the show finished. Punk was interviewed at ringside. He mentioned Chris Bay, which was a really nice touch. Press conference, Cena, again, really good stuff. Roman Reigns, it is a big show. If Roman, it's not the press conference, boys and girls. They didn't really say much. Ray Ripley, and then Jay joined the panel. Punk, Donuts, of course. Triple H, of course, sucked a lot of cock. But the presentation was on point. And again, I know there's a lot of like, pat on the back, but Triple H does deserve credit to, whatever happens now. Like we said, WN Fox seemed like a big deal for the first couple of weeks. But again, I think they delivered in spectacle, maybe, I think they did. I think they delivered.
Yeah, man, I'm 50-50 on it. I think as a hardcore fan, this is probably not a great episode of Raw. I mean, the match, the first and last matches were great. So this is kind of like what you would like. This is textbook WWE. To be fair, I think would be the best way to say it. But I wouldn't say that just based on like those Raw that they were kind of getting into for the end of the year, or just based on what I had come accustomed to from Raw with their vignettes and their storytelling and all of that and the matches. It wasn't the best in that sense, but I did think, like you mentioned earlier, they wasn't really trying to attest for us who keep up with it on a weekly basis. This show was all about these magical worldwide fans that they kept talking about, global, that they kept talking about that were going to get a chance to watch it. And I think it showed that in the ratings, too, with the extra, however, 2 million or whatever people from worldwide that we're watching live on Netflix. And I even had some people over here that's in the States who hadn't watched wrestling in a long time. Like I mentioned, a female friend of mine, and just now she's discovered Roman Reigns. So anybody who has an attachment to Roman, watch out, because more ladies have also discovered Roman. So he's so good for the company in that retrospect. I never like, that's so underrated. Like when I loved Austin back in the day, and even Rock or whoever else was #1 guy, I never accounted for how important it was for your average woman to just see him for the first time and be like, oh my God, I just want to watch now. He does that probably better than anybody. But anyway, yeah, man, this is like for the casual fan, I felt like it was a great showcase of what makes Raw, or what's probably going to make this era of Raw special. But what I don't necessarily want shows like this all the time. Like, I don't mind the energy being like this on Raw every now and then, but booked like this and not being that story-based focus. Because, like, again, when you have 3 hours and you think about what we actually accomplished in those 3 hours, they wasted a lot of damn time. We talked about there's a lot of time where we just got nothing, or it wasn't really much of anything, or it wasn't really a lot of great backstage storyline segments to me in this episode. But I do think it accomplished the goal of getting out there, being palatable for the new viewer, because it doesn't make sense for to come out of here and trying to tell all these complex stories with faces these people have never seen before or heard of for this new audience. So I hope as we get more comfortable with it being on Netflix and they get their fan base that's going to try to check it out every week, we get more of what we became used to from NXT. I mean, from Raw, not NXT.
And I think the thing is as well, no, it's an NXT update, but the thing is, like you talk about as well, like I said, it felt quite old school WWE in a way of bringing back the old legends, guaranteed to kind of get a rating. My only hope now is with Netflix and the next couple of years building the stars you got, because like I said, Triple H says it, and but this roster is the hottest it's been with the baby faces it's got and the wrestlers that it's got, and when you think about Roman's been around with Seth for that amount of time as well. Solo was the only one really who'd only been there a couple of years, so hopefully they talk about Gunther or Bron Breakker or even something like Jey Uso, to then come along and take it to that next level. But it is NXT.
Yeah,
update.
I mean, Gunther only got a video package. Like, that's why I'm like, you can't say this is a good Raw when the world champion only gets a video package.
I know. You
Go
know,
ahead.
you can have a champion in the crowd and you tag. Actually, every champion in the crowd apart from Gunther, yeah. So this, but we had to pick ourselves up after Raw on Netflix because the very next night was NXT New Year's Evil, January 7th, and The Rock was shown arriving at the arena before the show. That's right, boys and girls. The Rock is going to be on NXT. Who would have had that on their bingo card? Anybody? No, I think only Roman is the only one not to show up. And I doubt he will because he only showed up at the press conference the day before, I think. Not only that, but Corey Graves has been demoted. He's back on NXT. Poor Corey, eh? I mean, it's great that he's there, but we don't need him.
Yeah, it was a couple of moments where I actually forgot he was there. Like he would let Booker do his thing and Vic would go, their great chemistry, and just out of nowhere I hear his third voice make a comment. I'm like, oh yeah, Corey's there. I forgot.
Yeah, he did have to get in between the married couple, but he even told Booker to breathe at one point to give him a chance to talk. But again,
Right.
it's crazy how WWE does it. This felt like a PLE. The setting, like we talk about, it felt really big, and it kicked off big as well with NXT Women's Championship match between Julia and Roxanne Perez. They started out with an exchange of holds, counters, and takedowns that led to Perez getting a quick 2 count. They worked hard to out-wrestle each other until the prodigy slapped the challenger in the face. Julia responded with a series of headbutts. Cora Jade showed up to roll Perez back in the ring after a tumble at ringside, a callback to their very first match they had on the CW debut, but the ref rejected her a moment later. Prodigy tried all her best moves, even the pop rocks, but couldn't keep Julia down. The only thing I would say is that maybe the fans don't know Julia's finished just yet. So as she hit the Northern Lights bomb to finally put Perez down and become champion, the crowd did pop, but you know what I mean by that, Monty. We didn't mean, the build up to that moment, but still, new NXT Women's Champion, and this was excellent apart from that.
Yeah, no, it was a great match. I mean, they just have fantastic chemistry now. I mean, at this point, I trust Roxanne to be able to just kind of do her thing, wrestle her style with pretty much anybody. And but we put her in there, one of the best in the world, like Julia, and they just kind of go and do their thing. And I think what I like the most about Roxanne is that even though she's not the biggest person, she packs a punch, and she does a really good job, in my opinion, of because she started to do that crossface. She incorporates submissions really well, and I think it really fit the style of match that Julia likes to have. Like I said this once before, and I wouldn't be surprised. I forgot where did I get the reference from? She was giving an interview about it about Julia before Julia even came, and she was like she's watched a lot of Julia's stuff, and she's a fan, and you can kind of like I said once before, the way she wrestles Julia and the way they kind of blend stuff, a lot of that Japanese strong Joshi Stone style, but a lot of technical submission. That's stuff that Julia is used to, and I think for Roxanne to be the aggressor, not just being the one taking the submissions and stuff like that, and just again being able to hold her own 100% makes the story even better to me because Roxanne felt like a mountain that Julia had to climb, and that kind of helped the situation because I felt like as good as everything, as good as we know Julia to be, and a lot we talk. It's been mentioned plenty of times. You're only as good as your opponent, and I think it's really great in my opinion. This whole entire thing. Yes, we had to wait a little bit, and it may have not been the dominant undefeated run that an Oscar may have had or whatever, or it may not be as flashy because she's not doing moonsaults like an EO. But Julia is definitely right in that same ilk of just special talents that come out of Japan's system, who is taking the women's division of WWE and starting in NXT, but taking it by the throat. And I think I think she has the chance to really have a special run. And now it's going to be up to other women. I'm presuming that Roxanne is main roster bound sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's going to be up for the rest of the women to be able to. Can Julia elevate the way we saw Roxanne, not only elevate her own game, but also elevate a Jada Parker or somebody we don't look at on that same level? Can Julia do that as champion is really the big question for me. I think with her style, I think in the ring she has the potential, but she's working hard to learn English. She's working hard to want to tell more stories in that way. She mentioned that in an interview, so I cannot wait to see, what she can do as champion and how long will it last? Because she's also mentioned that she's ready. She want to get called up as fast as possible. So we'll see how that works, and if is it going to happen that way? Is it going to be a lengthy run? Does it even need to be one? Because we know what she brings to the table. But yeah, man, this was great stuff.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, there's a few things you said that I'm going to pick up on. First off, what a reign for Roxanne Perez. We talked about it, and she has delivered from Jordan Grace to kind of Lola Vice, whoever she's been put in there with. She's rose to the occasion, and she's been an excellent women's champion. I'm sure we'll look back on years to come and realise just how good it is. And like I said, she's main roster ready, but make sure there's a reason to be called up. Like we said, just don't go up there and just, make sure you've got a goal. Either, like I said, US or Intercontinental or wherever you want to go and stuff like this as well. And like you talk about with Julia, watching her is like watching Oscar back in the day. And the more I realise now is how clever it is for her to actually lose on that kind of first attempt, because then you haven't got the kind of comparison of the undefeated superstar. That's Oscar. We'll leave her there. Julia's going to be saying completely different. And we kind of know what she's going to do on the main roster. So like we said, we're just waiting now to see what her reign in NXT is going to be like and who's going to step up. Because like I said, Julia is definitely the woman in the division now.
Yeah, and like you said, now's the opportunity for, like we mentioned, the Soul Rukas, the Zarya. I mentioned Jada earlier, Lola. Even we'll talk about Stephanie in a second, but I can't wait for the inevitable rematch of that great history, the feud that they have, because they beat the absolute piss out of each other in their New Japan open weight. I mean, the strong women's title match. So I know that they got the potential to do even better than that. So yeah, man, this is just it's really interesting to see what we're gonna get from not only Julia, but also I want to see what happens for the rest of the division, because like I said, everybody's gonna have to step their game up. Who's gonna be willing to go out there, trade blows, but also again, who's gonna be able to help tell that story? Because now without Roxanne, a predominantly English speaking character, what type of ways, as far as, and not even just for the women, this ain't necessarily on the women as much as it's on WWE or on NXT Creative. Like, how are you going to tell these stories to get people involved? They're doing a great job so far. I just want them to continue on that with her on top as women's champion. But hey, like I said, the way they've been doing the women's title, especially with Roxanne, and we felt like that's like the world title. I feel pretty confident that we're going to get some of the best work for Julius Ray.
Yeah, watch Izzy Dame challenger at Stand and Deliver now. Anyway, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm just negative. Eddie Thorpe was shown saying he was attacked backstage by NXT general manager. Ava wasn't buying it. The payoff late was fantastic. Javon Evans gave a promo, but his mouth was wired shut due to Ethan Page's recent attack, so some of it wasn't that clear and made it hilarious. Gotta go! I gotta go! What did you think?
Yeah, I get what they were trying to do, but the tone, like you mentioned, it was giving such a mixed tone, because it's like, I get it. You want to give off the wire shut look and all of that, but it's just like, I almost rather he didn't speak. Just like, like maybe he could have wrote down what he was gonna say, and
That's what
they just,
little signs
or something like that. Because yeah, the tone, what he was saying, and the tone of the promo was two completely different things.
Yeah. Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade versus Stephanie Vaquera versus Lola Vice. Number contendership for the North American title. Jade ended up being the one. The other three competitors focused on first. Jordan almost stole a win right away after knocking Vaquera into Vice, rolling into a near fall. But when the dust was settled, it was Vaquera who won with a backbreaker finisher to earn a shot at the NXT North American Championship. This was good stuff. And the question is, will Steph be the next champion, or will we get shenanigans?
It depends on when they decide to do it, I believe. But to me, but I think honestly, I think the no brainer for me is to go ahead and just book her as champ, unless your idea of a stand and deliver match is Stephanie Julia, which definitely can be a possibility. They definitely could want to go that way. I don't see why not having your two best women on top of your two singles divisions and just kind of let them cook and build up not only a rapport with the fans as champion, but also, then you can kind of separate the talent, the talent below them. You can separate them with each person that you kind of just want to match them up to work with, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think, just to me, I think why not? But will it most likely be some type of shenanigans? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised either way. But I think why not? Just let Stephanie win it. She got the big victory here. Let them both walk in the stand and deliver as champions. We can get two multiple women's title matches on the card, and maybe I don't know. Maybe Sol Ruger can fight Steph, and Zarya can fight Julia or something. You know what I mean? Something like that. I don't know.
Jordan Grace. That's my
or
prediction.
Or Zarya, Jordan Grace.
That's
if you get that, if that's what we want to do, I don't care. I'm not biased to either result. I just feel honestly, I feel like we're probably gonna get 3 or 4 women's matches on the stand and deliver anyway.
To be fair, I did call Okada and Ilya Dragunov last year, so I don't really know much, but I think it's gonna be that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think why not, man? I think she's definitely ready for it. But it'd be interesting to see what they decide to do in that regard. But I saw somebody, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? What do you mean? Like they were like, why are they forcing Julia and Stephanie on? I'm just like two of the best religious wrestlers in the world are gonna most likely become your women's champions. Like that, again, it's a no-brainer.
And Stephanie's move as well. I forgot about the knees for move for the year, but if that's still a thing next year, I'm doing that. Obafemi admitted he attacked Eddie Thorpe during a backstage segment. I fucking love this. Dave was like, no one attacked you, Eddie. And then Alslobo was like, yeah, I fucking did. And again, we don't get that enough. Just pure honesty.
Hold on, you cut out. Say it again.
And we don't get pure honesty like Obafemi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
I attacked him.
Yeah. No, that was me. Don't worry about it. The internet wanted to blame The Rock, and I was like, The Rock would not waste his time on Eddie Thorpe. But over immediately comes in and is like, no, I attacked you because you remember he did that stupid stuff to me last week. I'm not hiding from you. I did it.
Also, another completely, I don't know, for 180, Nick Khan in the crowd with Triple H. How times have changed, eh? Imagine that, 2 years ago or something like this. Would have been a completely different reaction.
I agree. It's kind of crazy how the rebrand has been amazing for him, by the way.
Yeah.
They got the old man out of the way, and a lot of everything horrible. And I'm not trying to defend that man, trust me. But everything horrible kind of got pinned on the old man, and he just kind of everything that's been fixed with Triple H and all of that. It's like, yeah, Nick, come, bro, CM Punk back, yeah. It's just. Yeah, great rebrand for Nick Khan.
See, there is a Khan that knows professional wrestling. OTM are ready to lose with Fraxium. Fallon Henley, Jason Jane, Jasmine Nix were in a 6-woman tag match against Shotzi, Dolan, and Paxley. The faces may have the best entrance since Melina. I'm just going to put it out there. I fucking love that entrance. Yeah. Also, good news, Fatal have sorted out their attire. I had to go at them a couple of months ago, and I'm glad they're on point now. They attacked the Bay faces while they were posing during their entrance. Boo. To get the match going. Shotzi hit the senton from the top rope to get the pin on Henley to score the win. And it's really weird. And I don't know why I think of New Japan when this happens. But it's like people go, well, why was the champion pinned? They go, why wasn't the champion not pinned? It makes sense.
Yeah. It always makes sense. And then I think they had a backstage segment right not too long after this. They kind of even established it even more. WWE just didn't do this for a long time. They just didn't. If a champion was in the match, he wasn't going to get pinned. And then if a champion did get pinned, sometimes they'll just act like he didn't get pinned. You know, nothing happened because of it. So yeah, if a champion gets pinned, you know what that means, and I kind of like that angle on it. But at the same time, I do also again, this is one of those things that make our NXT so special. Is just again having this many women's matches, having them be that prominent. Like it was a lot of people that I saw, a lot of people who don't watch NXT on the regular, who were just commenting on just having almost 10 to 12 women pretty much be on your show this early. Not to mention Ava in a prominent position.
Yeah.
Like it's really dope because I know a lot of people who haven't watched wrestling in a long time. If they did watch it, they remember what women were most primarily used for. So to kind of see NXT getting so much attention for using women the way they've been using them, I think is one of the highlights of me watching people's reaction to this episode.
Yeah, without a doubt, you know. And again, it's I was disappointed that the first men's match was Charlie Dempsey versus Lexus King, and I'm going, oh, you're going to let the fucking side down now, boys. Do you know what I mean? But again, it might not. Heritage Cup, normal match. King was controlling the action as the match cut to a break. We turned to see Dempsey bleeding from above his eyes, began to make a comeback. An awkward moment after a leapfrog led to an inadvertent low blow, and King hitting his finisher for the pin and the win. I mean, after all this, you do that. I mean, this is not over. This is not it. Like, just finish it. But Lexus King is, I say champion loosely, Monty, but he has won gold or bronze or whatever the trophy's made of. I'm not sure.
Congratulations, man. That's the best I can do. Best I can do is congratulations. You know, they kind of put this off for so long, man, of what, you know, when he would kind of show his true colors, and to kind of have it go the way it did. You know, I don't have a problem with it because I think we kind of seen it go, but you kind of, the thing I'm probably going to be a little petty here. Like, you bored the hell out of us with this storyline for so long for the obvious payoff, you know, to happen like that, you know. So that's kind of like that's my disrespect or my takeaway from it. But yeah, man, it was fine.
It is always funny because I do get, like, you know, a few emails, especially after update, where you go, you didn't mention this, you didn't go into detail, and it's like, there's a reason. You know, we talk about the stuff we like.
Yeah, it's like, and to all the listeners who've been super duper, if you're a Lexus King fan out there or whatever, I apologize. All right, but you know, it's just, we knew he was gonna do that, but it took them 10 weeks for him to do it, and it was just not interesting. So I don't know. That's me. But hey, we talked about Lexus King, guys. You happy?
Well, even Page is a killer hill in the meantime. That Lexus King still not made his mind up. Backstage, though, Ethan Page was talking to Ava, and Ava saying you don't respect him, and The Rock showed up. It was nice to see Ava involved in The Rock. I don't know how they managed to do that. You know, maybe Rock's just a big fan. But Ethan Page was quite funny and got slapped on the arse, which, again, would be great
Hilarious.
for the old Rock. But again, I'm still going, you're the final boss, mate. Make your mind up. Make your mind up.
That's because he's both. That's what this is. I know he's wearing the final boss vest, but currently he seems to be wearing both hats. You know, he's part, you know, Dwayne the boss, and like he's like, I don't know how to. We gotta mix it up. He's like, he's like the people's boss. The final people's boss or something.
Again.
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that kind of. I don't know. Anyway, the main event for New Year's Evil saw Trick Williams put the NXT title on the line against Oba Femi and Eddie Thorpe. The match began with only Williams and Femi in the ring because obviously Oba had splattered Eddie early on. I mean, Trick's not a small man, but to be put up against Oba makes you realise just how big that guy is. And of course, Trick was the underdog. Thorpe eventually showed up, but was taken out ringside. Williams hit a rock bottom for the middle rope for a 2 count, which probably made the visiting final boss very happy. Thought ruined Femi's chance of winning by putting the referee out of the ring during a pin. So Femi dismantled him with throws and slams for a couple of minutes. Trick tried to hit his finisher but ran into Thorpe's chair, allowing Femi to hit his finisher and score the victory. And your new NXT champion, Oba Femi. A lot to unpick here, Monty.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm so fucking pleased. Oba Femi is NXT champion. Interesting that Trick was pinned to begin with, I think. That was the interesting thing.
Yeah, I hated it, man. I hated it. Because I was like, why? So are we really that? I'm trying to this is the biggest question. I wrote this down. When did we get so pro Eddie Thorpe?
Attacking women. That shot him up there.
Right. Like when did we get? I should have known then when he hit Ava and when Sean had to rough him up and faking the injury for a title shot. Like I don't understand him needing the protection. Instead of it being a trick, especially when we're doing it in New Year's Eve, you would assume some type of you would assume some type of something will be happening for Trick and them, especially because of the one-on-one setting. Because I hated that from the start. I hated that it was triple threat, but I think they kind of knew that if you were watching wrestling a long time, I think Sean kind of figured. Whereas like if you watch wrestling a long time and you see triple threat in this title, we talk about it all the time. Triple threat champ probably gonna retain. So let me swerve it. Let me make sure that the guy who we think is obviously going to be the next champion, why not? Why wait? And that's hilarious to me when you think about Sean's booking in almost every other situation when it comes to these things. I mean, sometimes he waits, sometimes he don't. So I give him props. He's not like Triple H who makes you wait all the time, but still.
But Shotzi wasn't put into the triple threat match. Again, Ava said, have a match, and then the winner of that will face a champ. If Trick had heard that a week before, he would have been, all right, Eddie and Oba, you go, and then I'll face the winner. It's just...
But guess what? Again, who looks bad now? Again, who looks bad? The baby face who said, hey, I'll just do a triple threat match. And then you get, attacked. And then you lose, you know what I mean? And, like, you get pinned. It's really, really interesting, man, to me, in my opinion. It's just, I don't know what to tell you other than, how not satisfied, but it's just one of those things to where it's just like Trick was given, like we mentioned earlier. We talked about this multiple times. The opponent's Trick has been given. The way they kind of stripped what his strong suits, I don't think the promos or the way he's been kind of depicted or what he's been asked to say and the lines he's been delivered, he's been having to be basically the background image to other things on the show, basically mostly his entire run, and to have him not, even an interesting note about this. This wasn't the last segment of this show. You know what I mean? Can't even get your title taken from you in the actual main event of the show. Which again, that's not his fault. It's more of a, you got somebody like The Rock there, but still, it's just everything about his run as of late has been very, very frustrating as somebody who has watched him work hard to get where he is. And I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm not gonna say that anything. I'm not gonna say that this was bad because I did expect Oba. Don't get me wrong. When Oba won it, I knew that the end goal would be him as champion. Maybe I thought we would find a way to put it off the actual crowning achievement, but I knew that this would be it. So I'm not mad that we kind of got there faster than maybe I expected it. I'm more so, like we mentioned earlier, mad at the depiction of Trick Williams. How he kind of fell to be like every segment he's had on these 4 episodes, he felt like he was the loser of the situation, and then to get pinned right here by Oba Femi, which that's not everybody get pinned by Oba Femi, but still, it's just very, very interesting. And I don't know, man. I really don't know if I would call Trick up yet. I don't, but at the same time, like, do you do a Braun Breaker? This is my pitch now. If he's not the champion anymore now, your best bet with a guy like Trick, in my opinion, is to let him get back in his strong suit, but see how he works as a heel. I know the song is hypnotic and everybody loves to do it to his music, and maybe that's how you want to call him up, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that I get it, but I don't know as a character if him Trick Williams as a babyface. I don't know if I'm as optimistic as I would be as I was. I know I'm not as optimistic as I was last year. You know?
Yeah, well, because the thing is Trick's the only one that's kind of lost out of this situation. Eddie Thorpe comes along as like quite a clever heel, not getting pinned. Still, he's got like a shout at Oba afterwards. And again, it's funny how Trick's reign has been terrible. I mean, well, not to say terrible, but it's been bad. And the thing is, like, we were worried about this because the chase was so good. It was an emotional roller coaster with, getting the respect of Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes and getting that job done and then fighting those both men afterwards and then, finally getting that championship. Whereas Obafemi was like, I'm going to be champion. I'm going to win this Iron Survivor. I'm going to be champion because I want to. And he did. So maybe Oba's
remember his early promo? The promo where he said, "You lucky I was North America. Like I chose to let you do." So now you invalidated. Now that feels like the entire Trick Williams run. You was only champion because this guy chose not to go after you.
And
so
it's like, like Oba like, what seems so dominant now, and you kind of think, but I'm not that worried because it's like what they're going to do with Oba. I think Oba will be fine. I think with Trick because the high was before. And like you said, a heel turn for Trick, even doing the Sami Zayn trick of, having the start of his music and then cutting it out to something different before the whoop that trick, bringing him heel, doing that, and even bringing him up to the main roster and bringing him back together with Mello. And I know, some people might not like that, but I think heel and a heel and Trick can say to Mello, in a backstage thing on YouTube, look, I realise what you were saying now, and then we can have that. They've done it with DIY. Why can't we do it with Trick Mello on the main roster,
We definitely can. They definitely can. And then, even if you don't want them to do it that way, or just because I feel like, especially once he turns and the fans may possibly most likely turn on him if they do it right, you can really go head to head. Like you say, it's only one person who would know Mello well enough to have his back. And like they can hit on those NXT emotions of, you remember how he rose through the ranks of NXT together? We can do this on the main roster. Like you mentioned, the same thing with DIY. Like you definitely can rekindle that, and I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. But I just feel like that's one of the only things that, in my opinion, that can kind of help Trick, because like I mentioned, and like you just mentioned too, I mean, not only did Eddie Thorpe not get pinned, Eddie Thorpe got attacked before the match, so he got double. He got protected doubly. Like you can make the case that even if Eddie got, I think that's what kind of frustrated me the most watching it, was that I'm like, did he get attacked before the match? Wouldn't it make sense for him to get pinned? Nobody would bat an eye or say he stunk because of it. He got attacked before the match. He still ain't get pinned. So again, it's just that finality to it really left, not gonna say a bad taste, but it really made me feel like, okay, well, something's different here. Trick can't just come back out here, theme song, and talk a little mess and whatever. Something is going to have to change. And I do believe that, I don't know who it is, maybe start brutal. I don't want to go off brutally attacking people, Ridge Holland style, but he's going to have to do
Evans
something.
returns.
Yeah. Right. As soon as Javon Evans comes back, he immediately Pillmanizes the poor kid. And now jaws wired shut, and now his throat
in a wheelchair, fucking
like,
bad.
God, but yeah, because Javon is liked, so I'm glad you said that. I was like, who can he attack that everybody likes?
Javon's just like, for fuck's sake, leave me alone. He's locker room leader at 20, But again, this is the thing, and we talked about when the debut on the CW of kind of like what the future of NXT would be, and having Femi and Julia post together at the top of the ramp as new champions was them dope. Going, this is what you've got now. And again, I'm ready, because again, it feels different, but it's two dominant champions. It's just, I'm just really positive. Do you know what I mean? Especially about these two.
Oh, yeah, man. I think with Julia, like I said, you have the pedigree, you have the know-how in the ring. It's just all about how they choose to go about telling the story. And with the women's division being such a big focus, we have so much to work with. I'm very optimistic that that's going to be a pretty good run, a pretty fun run. And like I said, I think the only thing about that run is just how long do you want to push it? Do you want to push it, for 6 months and then call Julie up in the next draft? What do you want to do? And how long do you want to do it and that thing? And I think basically the funny thing about it, Oba is the same way. Like, we can say what we want to say about it. Oba doesn't even have to be NXT champion next year or by December or whatever. I probably say he will be, but he don't have to be because he's one of those guys that feels like he's close to being a finished product. But I don't want us to rush calling people up either. I feel like we got these new women's mid-card titles. We got so much stuff on the main roster that's still moving parts and still being settled. And we still have so much talent that's not showcased regularly enough that I don't think we have to rush anything. We're in a really good spot with NXT. I think Roxanne is definitely on the move. Trick will probably be gone in the next draft, if not, before or into that, I think. So but even if they decide not to do that with Trick, what do they decide to do? I can see Ethan Page even being gone sooner than later, to be honest. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who's here and who's not whenever they decide to do the draft. That's always the funny thing. Felt like me and you, as great as this, even though this is a new year, it kind of feels like a reset for the era. The real reset is who's going to be drafted and leaving, because as soon as we get accustomed to everybody, then you just start drafting even people like a Kiana James that we thought would still probably be there right now. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Matter of fact, I said Kiana James, she might be back. She hasn't been on TV forever, so you never know.
In a while, I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But, that's the name. I was like, I recognize that name. I have not seen that talent for a while.
I've seen it forever, yeah.
But no, you are right. Like I said, it is positive time. We'll get your thoughts for NXT in a minute, because, like I said, that wasn't the ending. The Rock closed this week's NXT with a speech that required a few bleeps and censors and the floor director signal how much time was left in his show, so we didn't go over. There's one thing we know: The Rock loves The Rock, all right? And I love The Rock myself, but even I'm like, man, that dude is just a brand now more than anything else. He didn't really say much. He says like, "Oh, Netflix was the show that you had to go to. This is the show you wanted to go to." And the NXT fans were just happy The Rock was there. I would be as well. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. If you smell and then fucking credits, there was no time at all. But again, it's what they wanted to accomplish. I suppose. Which is people wondering why The Rock was on there. And again, NXT. I mean, first of all, what are your thoughts on The Rock? And then I'll tell you about the ratings afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love The Rock. He's one of my favorites. I'm always itching for any time he decides to step into that world. I remember when he first went to act and all of that, and just how, for a long time he didn't really come back at all or really not want to acknowledge his wrestling day. So this version of The Rock that we got that's so kind of seemingly involved in whatever he's doing and seem to be having fun whenever he's back, I get a kick out of it. I really do. But I'm not crazy. As great as this was, or as entertaining as it always is to hear him talk, you're 100% right. I mean, I feel like even if he had a goal for his promo going as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure when he asked Ava for advice on what to say, he was not asking. I mean, that was like, he probably honestly didn't know what to say because he was just there. He really didn't have an overall goal or anything to say. He didn't have a storyline to plug or anybody to put over or anything. Like, he gave his speech to the talent before the show that he kind of hinted at, and then he had something to say to the few fans that was in the arena and to the fans who were enjoying the show because they knew he would be here or whoever else was just watching NXT. So, it was great to see him. Don't get me wrong, but this promo was just, it was a nothing promo that took the spot of a main event. When as great as it was, it's great to see The Rock, but they could have rushed Julie and Obafemi out to do that pose now and all that. That would have been a nice way to actually close the show instead of us getting this promo that basically accomplished Nothing. But I love The Rock, and I'm not mad at them for just letting him go out there and do his thing. Nobody can just go out there and filibuster or go off the cuff like him. But he didn't have nothing to say.
No, but I was about to say, like, imagine if Rock was like, look, towards the end of the program, it's not about me, it's about them. Pointed to the stage and showed Femi and Judy and was like, these are the future. Thank credit. But it would mean it's not about himself. So,
Exactly.
again,
That would have been a great way to actually close it off. But yeah, instead we get the promo, and it's fine. But you're 100% right. Where it's just like, okay, Rock, like, all right, why are you here? Oh, you just here to be the Rock, I guess. Okay, well, cool. And that was it.
It worked though, because NXT garnered one of its largest audiences in the show's history
Ever,
for Tuesday's
right?
episode featuring The Rock. Yeah, I mean, it scored 957,000 viewers. That was up 53% from the previous week, up half from the previous week. It was the third largest audience in show history, behind the first two episodes that aired over 5 years ago of September 2019, when it first, the Wednesday Night Wars began, so to speak. So all in all, incredible. And like Netflix, and again, we'll say this, even The Rock's there, it brings eyes to other talent that might not have been seen. So you might have tuned in for The Rock, but you've seen Femi in Judy as well, and you might just tune in the following week as well. So all in all, pretty successful week rating-wise for
Hell
WWE.
yeah. No, that's the goal. I mean, say what you want to say about him being there or whatever, but when you do stuff like that, that is the goal. And guess what? When Tony Khan got that big boom and whoever these when he got those people on these shows, he's trying to get. I know I'm not trying to compare him to The Rock. Okay,
well, we haven't got The Rock. We haven't got The Rock, Tony, but we've got Boom, AJ
Boom
and his kids.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I got a perfect example. He's not The Rock either, but when they had Shaq in that match, it was a complete gimmick for Cody Rhodes or whatever. But Shaq brought NBA eyes, and it was a lot of people who followed the NBA making fun of how fat Chris Jericho was. You know what I mean? Like, it was people who don't watch the product, may not know what the hell AEW is. Some of them may never watch it again. Some of them saw Jade and was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's what it does. That's what if you're gonna bring somebody who's not on your television show on the regular outside attention, no, none of these people are The Rock. None of these people are gonna get eyeballs on your television screen. For wrestling fans like The Rock, because old school wrestling fans, people who haven't watched in years, they're gonna come to see what he do, even if it is, like we said, a nothing promo. But like you said, the people who won are all those women who were allowed to be showcased early in the show and all of that, and throughout the show. They won because a lot of people got a chance to see what NXT is doing right now with their women's division. Like I said, I mentioned it a couple times, but to see how many people who were just impressed by the women, I said that is the whole entire purpose of watching this show on a weekly basis, and I hope they come back for that. Same thing with, like you mentioned, Obafemi. A guy like that, it doesn't take long to get it. And then you watch him do his thing, you watch him how he dresses, how he looks, his walk to the ring. It doesn't take long for you to understand who he is. And like you said, a lot of new faces who don't watch on a weekly basis, some of those people might come back to say, hey, I want to see what this Oba guy does as champion. Or I'm interested in this Julia. She's Italian? She's Japanese? Like, I saw a lot of people doing that, finding out things about these people that they have never seen before. So I just think that's the coolest thing about it. And I just hope, like you said, at the end of the day, our babies got way more views on it. And hopefully stuff like that gets it to continue. It may not be close to 1 million every week, and I'm not expecting that. But at the end of the day, it's getting a lot more attention than it ever did before. And a lot of it has to do with The Rock.
Yeah, without a doubt. And imagine if, in 25 years' time, The Rock's still on WWE programming, coming out and chilling, I don't know, maybe beer. Maybe the reaction won't be as positive as it was at this very moment in time. I'm just saying.
Great reference.
I'm just.
And then, he barely can walk.
Yeah, he barely just comes out
looking like he needs hip surgery.
Someone lifts his eyebrow for him. That type of stuff. I don't know. He probably booed because of the politics. So, Monty, before we wrap up, What are your thoughts on NXT this month? I say this month, this update, because we've gone into 2025. But honestly, man, it feels bigger than ever before.
Yeah, man, we're on the right track. I mentioned kind of what, if I do have a problem with NXT, I think I pretty much expressed them tenfold in this show. But I do think the positives definitely outweigh it. I'm tired of it. I don't want to say it, but Triple H said it for Netflix. So I guess I'll say it for NXT. It obviously seems like we're on the cusp of a new era when we have our new champions crowned, and we'll see if Fraxium continues to kind of hold on to the tag division. I expect them to. I expect them to, but we'll see, because I feel like they like the only ones now who are still holding on. So we'll see what happens, but. Yeah, man, I think we're in a wonderful spot, man. The women's division, like I said, possibly having Stephanie and Julia with gold and maybe leading divisions going forward. If Stephanie can, get through the shenanigans, we'll see. But even if not, I'm just excited, because I feel like having Julia and having this new direction as on top can only help bring out help shine and a light on and bring out the best in others. To be honest, the only negative I got about these last 4 weeks, the only thing, it's a couple of things. Like I said, yeah, the Lexus King stuff, okay, but I don't have a problem with it per se. The only thing that really need to get off my TV screen is the soap opera. We need to get this out of here. I'm not opposed to it, but sometimes you can see we still got a little bit of 2.0 in us. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let Carmen fight Nikita or whatever, and let's move on. Or whatever we got to do, because Carmen was I was way more interested in her when she was swinging her sword around and actually wrestling. I'm not trying to say she definitely needs to improve, but the only way you improve is actually fighting.
She's still swinging swords, but just in a different way.
Exactly. I'm not interested in that. We get it. We get it, NXT. We see that you guys are nice. We get that you guys are Love Island over there. That's another NXT show or whatever. I mean, not NXT, another Netflix show, or whichever one on the Netflix show. You know what I'm talking about. The dating show. We get it. We get it with NXT is as a locker room.
If it would be called Fucking Like Rabbits if it was NXT.
Right. Right. But I promise, when you cut the cameras on and it's time for a wrestling show, we're not that interested into it.
They're just dry humping each other in the corner before the bell goes.
Right. That's what that entire angle feels like. That entire angle feels like the writers caught wind of all the relationships and was like, it'd be good. Let's bring a fictional relationship to our television. Somebody would love that. So yeah, that's pretty much the only negative I got. Everything else is looking good. I'm optimistic going forward, and hopefully going towards standing to deliver both of those title pictures, or all our title pictures and contenders. I don't know what type of massive ladder match we'll have. We need to fire up that North American division. I guess that's another kind of thing I can say. We need to get something going in that division again.
But it's Tony D.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks a lot, Tony. You killed another division, just like the tag division. But overall, I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, without a doubt. That has been excellent, this update. And don't forget, we're across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod. James, you find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where are you?
Like I said, at Monty Pod, and also on Blue Sky as the Mind of Monty, or Your Highness. I got to figure out what my name is on there, so don't even worry about Blue Sky. Anyway, just follow me at Mind of Monty. You can find me on Blue Sky.
WNR also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube, the podcast. Got the same time on YouTube. Do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify and iTunes. Make and download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be next weekend, and it's Wrestle Kingdom and Dynasty. Now, no spoilers, Monty, but is it worth the 14 hours I'm going to spend watching it?
Oh,
God.
Man.
That's not a good start. That's not a good start.
That's all I'm going to say is,
Oh, God. Wow. Well,
it's definitely got its highlights. Let's say it that way. It got its highlights and lowlights. That's what we'll say.
Right. Well, we'll find out about that next weekend. Until then, I've been Jay Thrones, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, thank you for joining me. And again, like we said, it's paying off now, NXT. All those dark 2.0 days are now finally paying back.
You know what? We should probably just celebrate that. I don't think we've had a big NXT mass release in a long time either.
Oh,
so
no.
It's been a lot of positive.
We're going to get off it.
Yep. Well, bye-bye, Wesley.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for joining me, and thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.